All right, so welcome to our deep dive. And today we're tackling how to stay positive.
Sounds good to me.
We've got a really interesting source actually, a transcript from a video blog called Cultivating Positivity, a practical guide.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and it's full of tips and exercises, and honestly, I think you'll find it helpful.
I think so too. I had a chance to skim it, and it goes beyond just like surface level advice. It's more, tools you can use to actually kind of shift your mindset.
Okay, cool. Well, let's
Yeah.
dive right in. One of the things that stood out to me was how much it emphasized perspective, like,
Right.
how we see a situation, not always the situation itself.
Right, exactly. And the blog actually uses this great example of being stuck in traffic. I mean, we've all been there, right?
Well, absolutely. I could definitely relate to that, yeah.
So easy to get frustrated.
Yeah.
But the source suggests instead of stressing, we could try to look at it as an opportunity.
Oh, okay. I like that.
Yeah, maybe it's a chance to listen to a podcast, catch up on some calls, or just enjoy a few moments of quiet. We have more control, I think, than we realize.
It's about reframing the situation.
Exactly.
Speaking of reframing, what about that silver lining exercise?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I've heard of that before, but the source really dives into the psychology behind it.
It's interesting, right?
Yeah.
It's not just about like putting on a happy face, and ignoring the negative. There's evidence that says that when you actively search for the positive aspects of a situation, it helps you cope better, even reduce stress.
So it's like training your brain to
Mhm.
focus on the good stuff.
Exactly. It's like building a muscle. The more we practice looking for the silver linings, the easier it becomes.
I remember reading about a study where participants kept a gratitude journal, and it actually changed like their brain activity related to happiness and well-being. It's amazing, how powerful just our thoughts can be.
It really is. And that brings us to our next point, which is, gratitude. That's something this video blog emphasizes a lot too. Practicing gratitude, it can actually change our brain chemistry.
Wait, so it's not just some fluffy feel-good stuff.
No, not at all.
There's like actual science behind it.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
Studies have shown that, like, regularly expressing gratitude, it can lead to increased levels of dopamine and serotonin. Those are neurotransmitters associated with happiness.
That's fascinating. So how do we actually put this into practice? I mean, it's easy to say be more grateful, but how do we make it like a habit?
Well, the source recommends a pretty simple exercise. It's called Three Good Things. And
Yeah.
basically, each night before you go to bed, you just write down three things you're grateful for.
Okay.
They can be big or small, anything that brought you joy or made you smile that day.
I love that because it's, simple, but it forces you to look for the positive. It's like you're intentionally shifting your focus.
And what I think is really powerful about it is it helps to kind of counteract that negativity bias. We naturally focus on uh, threats, dangers, and this helps us rewire our brains to notice the good stuff.
I think we could all benefit from that,
Yeah.
especially in today's world, right?
Yeah.
It's just so much negativity everywhere you look.
It's true. And that leads us to another important point. Positivity is contagious, unfortunately. So is negativity.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. Like if you're constantly surrounded by negative people or doom scrolling on social media, it's going to affect your mood.
It absolutely does. And that's why the blog, stresses the importance of being mindful of our information diet and our social circles.
So it's like we have to be proactive in creating an environment that supports our well-being.
Precisely.
Okay.
And that can involve, making some choices like unfollowing accounts that consistently bring you down, limiting your exposure to news that triggers anxiety.
Yeah, that's so true. I've actually started doing that myself. It's made a huge difference.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Instead of doom scrolling, I've been following, more nature photographers and those cute animal videos.
Oh, I love that.
You know, it's about, seeking out content that uplifts and inspires you rather than drains your energy.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about perspective, gratitude, creating a positive environment. What's next? What other gems did you uncover in this blog?
Well, one that I found particularly insightful was the concept of yet.
Oh, okay.
The video blog uses a great example. Instead of saying, I can't do this, try saying, I can't do this yet.
Ah, yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah,
It's about changing your mindset from limitation to possibility, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
It's a subtle shift, but it can have a profound impact on how we approach challenges. Instead of seeing them as roadblocks, we start to view them as opportunities for growth and learning.
That makes sense. So adding that little word "yet" transforms a statement of failure into a statement of potential.
It really does, and it ties back to the idea of perspective, right?
Yep.
So instead of getting stuck in that, fixed mindset, we adopt a growth mindset where we believe that we can improve, develop new skills.
I like that it's a reminder that, we're all works in progress.
We are, and it's about embracing that journey, rather than getting discouraged by setbacks.
Okay, before we wrap up this part, there's one more important piece: self-care.
Oh, right.
The blog emphasizes that positivity isn't just about, mental tricks. Our physical well-being matters too.
Absolutely. It's all connected.
Yeah.
If we're not taking care of ourselves physically, it's going to be much harder to maintain a positive outlook.
So what are some of the key elements of self-care that the source highlights?
Well, it covers the basics, but they're so important. Getting enough sleep,
Mm-hmm.
eating nutritious food,
Mm-hmm.
exercising regularly, and taking breaks when we need them.
It's funny because those things seem so obvious, but we often neglect them.
We do. And I think it's, because we live in a culture that glorifies busyness and productivity. But the truth is, we can't pour from an empty cup.
That's so true. It's like trying to run a car on fumes. It breaks down.
Exactly. So it's crucial to prioritize our well-being, make time for activities that recharge us.
I completely agree. For me, that means taking a walk in nature every day, even if it's just for 15 minutes.
Oh, nice.
It helps to clear my head and boost my mood.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's about finding those, little things that bring you joy and incorporating them into your daily routine. It doesn't have to be anything, grand or time consuming. It's about making those small, consistent efforts to nurture yourself.
That's a great point. Self-care is about being kind to ourselves and recognizing that we deserve to feel good.
Absolutely. And it's not selfish. It's an act of self-love.
Well said. Well, I think that's a perfect place to pause for now. We've covered a lot of ground in this first part, exploring the power of perspective, gratitude, creating that positive environment, embracing the yet concept, and prioritizing self-care.
It's a great foundation, to build on
Yeah, exactly.
for cultivating a more positive outlook on life.
Okay, we'll be back soon with the second part of our deep dive, where we'll delve into some even more practical strategies and insights from Cultivating Positivity, a practical guide. Stay tuned. Welcome back. I'm really enjoying this deep dive. It's amazing how these simple concepts can have a huge impact on, our well-being.
Right. It's not, about some magical formula or overnight transformation. It's
Right.
about, those small shifts in thinking and behavior that over time can lead to some significant changes.
Like we talked about in the first part, it's all interconnected. Perspective, gratitude, surrounding yourself with positivity, embracing that yet mindset, and self-care. They all work together.
Exactly. And it's fascinating how these ideas build upon one another.
I'm curious to hear more about that. How do you see them all connecting?
Well, let's take, for example, self-care.
Okay.
When we prioritize our physical and mental health, we're naturally more equipped to deal with, challenges, setbacks.
That makes sense. If you're sleep deprived and running on empty, it's going to be harder to see the silver lining in anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when we feel good physically, we're also more likely to feel good mentally.
Right.
It's like a positive feedback loop.
Okay, so self-care sets the foundation. Then what?
Well, from there, it becomes easier to practice gratitude.
Okay.
When we're taking care of ourselves, we're more attuned to the good things in our lives.
So instead of focusing on what's wrong, we're more likely to notice what's right.
Yes, and the more we practice gratitude, the more we kind of rewire our brains to seek out the positive. This, in turn, makes it easier to maintain a positive perspective, even when faced with, difficulties.
Like a domino effect. Each positive action strengthens the next.
And then when we start seeing challenges as opportunities for growth, thanks to that yet mindset, we become even more resilient.
It's like we're building this upward spiral of positivity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, this isn't about denying negative emotions.
Right.
Or pretending that everything is perfect all the time. Life is full of ups and downs.
Of course, we're all going to have bad days and tough experiences. That's just part of being human.
Right. It's about developing the tools and practices that help us navigate those challenges, with more grace and resilience. It's about having a more balanced and realistic outlook on life.
So it's not about being, happy all the time. It's about being able to bounce back from setbacks and find the good, even amidst the difficult.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. And another important aspect of cultivating positivity is, being mindful of the company we keep.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've definitely experienced how negativity can be contagious.
It really can. And while we can't always control the people, we encounter, we can be more intentional about who we choose to spend our time with.
That makes sense. It's about surrounding ourselves with people who lift us up and inspire us.
Exactly. And it's not just about, our social circles. It's also about the information we consume.
Right.
Are we constantly bombarding ourselves with negative news and social media drama?
Or are we seeking out content that inspires us and motivates us?
Right.
Yeah.
It's about making conscious choices that
Yeah.
support our well-being.
Okay, so to recap, we've talked about how self-care sets the stage for gratitude, which helps us to maintain a positive perspective and embrace challenges as opportunities for growth. And we've also touched on the importance of surrounding ourselves with positive influences.
Yes. And I think, it's worth reiterating, this is an ongoing process.
Right.
It's not about reaching some, magical endpoint where we're suddenly positive all the time.
Right.
It's about cultivating these practices day by day.
It's about those small, consistent efforts that make a big difference over time.
Exactly. And it's interesting to think about the ripple effect that our own positivity can have on others.
Oh, I love that. It's like paying it forward.
Right.
Yeah.
When we approach life with a positive attitude, it not only benefits us, but also those around us. Our energy, becomes contagious. We inspire others to do the same.
Okay, so we've explored all these amazing concepts and practical strategies from cultivating positivity, a practical guide. What I'm really curious about now is what this all means for our listeners. How can they actually apply this information to their own lives?
Well, I think the key takeaway is that they now have a toolbox filled with tools that they can use to start cultivating more positivity in their lives.
It's like they have a roadmap for a happier, more fulfilling life.
Exactly, and it doesn't have to be overwhelming. They can start small. What's
Wow.
what's one tiny change they can make today?
Maybe it's writing down 3 things they're grateful for before bed, or taking a 15-minute walk in nature, or unfollowing that account that always triggers, negativity.
It doesn't matter how small it seems. It's about taking that first step and then building momentum from there.
And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about progress.
Right.
We're all going to stumble and have bad days.
Mhm.
But the key is to keep coming back to these practices, these tools that help us to shift our perspective and cultivate a more positive outlook.
I think that's a beautiful message to leave our listeners with. It's about embracing the journey and trusting that even small steps can lead to big changes.
Absolutely. And we'd love to hear from our listeners. What are some of the things they're doing to cultivate positivity in their own lives?
I'm sure they have some great insights to share. Maybe they've discovered a new gratitude practice or found a creative way to incorporate self-care into their busy schedule.
We'd love to create a community of positivity seekers, supporting and inspiring each other along the way. So please share your experiences with us on social media using our show's hashtag.
Let's spread those positive vibes far and wide.
Okay, that's it for part 2 of our deep dive into cultivating positivity, a practical guide. We'll be back soon for the final part, where we'll wrap up our discussion and leave you with some final inspiring thoughts. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive, all about cultivating positivity.
It's been a great conversation so far.
Yeah, we've explored some really powerful concepts and practical strategies from our source material.
And, the key takeaway here, I think, is that positivity, it isn't just some fleeting feeling.
Right.
It's a choice, a mindset we can cultivate.
I love that because it takes effort, but it's something we can control.
Exactly. And the beauty of it is that even small efforts can have a big, ripple effect.
It's like those tiny seeds that grow into these mighty trees.
I like that analogy. And just as, a gardener tends to their plants, we can tend to our own minds, nurturing positivity through those practices we've discussed.
So to recap, we've talked about the power of perspective, the transformative nature of gratitude, the importance of those positive influences, that growth mindset, from the yet concept, and the role of self-care.
It's a holistic approach.
And it's empowering to know that, we have all these tools at our disposal.
Absolutely. And, it's important to remember that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Right.
What works for one person might not work for another.
Of course, yeah.
It's about finding what resonates with you,
Mm.
what fits into your life, what brings you joy.
Maybe it's a gratitude journal, maybe it's a meditation group, or simply spending more time out in nature.
It's about experimenting and discovering what helps you to cultivate that inner sunshine.
I like that.
Yeah.
And it's okay to start small. Even the tiniest steps in the right direction can make a difference.
I completely agree. It's about building those positive habits one day at a time.
And as we cultivate more positivity in our own lives, it starts to spread to others.
It does. It's like a ripple effect. Our positive energy becomes contagious.
Oh, for sure. I've definitely experienced that. When I'm feeling good, it's easier to be kind and compassionate to others.
And conversely, when we're surrounded by that negativity, it can be, draining and bring us down.
Which is why it's so important to be mindful of, all those influences
Yeah.
and make choices that support our well-being.
Exactly. It's about creating a positive, ecosystem for ourselves.
I love that. And, what's really inspiring is that positivity is a renewable resource.
It is. We can always tap into it no matter what challenges we're facing.
It's like a wellspring of hope and optimism, always available to us.
And the more we kind of draw from it, the stronger it becomes.
That's a beautiful thought, and I think it's a perfect note to end on.
I agree. We hope this deep dive has given you some valuable insights and practical strategies for, cultivating more positivity in your life.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Oh,
And every step towards positivity is a step towards a happier, healthier, more fulfilling life.
thank you for joining us on this exploration.
And remember, keep those positive vibes flowing.